Welcome back to the Who's and Yanks, where we talk everything Canada soccer and U.S. soccer. Tonight we'll be previewing the USA preliminary Gold Cup roster for the 2021 Gold Cup. And just like the last video I did with the Canadian roster, I'm going to be reading also lists of names, and I'm also going to be giving you an analysis. So you're going to see my starting 11 from this squad at least. Once again, it's not going to be finalized because this is not the finalized player. None of these players are on the finalized roster. This is just for fun for me and for you guys. But you're also going to hear a little opinions too on what I think of some of the players that are being called into action for the 2021 preliminary roster, although once again not finalized. So as well as excited as I am for this U.S. young talent and all this, it's still not finalized. So we got to hold our horses until we have a finalized roster. But let's wait no longer. I'm going to read you the roster, and once again, I apologize if I butcher anybody's names or misspell or mispronounce anything. So we're going to start with Josie Altidore, Frankie Amaya, Julio Araujo, Paul Arriola, Corey Bird, Cole Bassett, George Bello, Gianluca Busio, Reggie Cannon, Johnny Cardoso, Cameron Carter-Vicks, Justin Shea, Caden Clark, Cade Cowell, Daryl Dike, Kyle Duncan, Jeremy Abobasi, Jesus Ferreira, Leon Flock, Chase Gasper, Nicholas Giacchini, Jonathan Gomez, Julian Green, Brad Gazan, Bill Hamid, Aaron Herrera, Matthew Hope or Hoppy. Once again, I apologize if I butcher anybody's name. Sean Johnson, Henry Kessler, Jonathan Lewis, Sebastian Leggett, Tim Melia, Rubio Rabin, Georgie Mahalovic, Shaq Moore, Chris Mueller, Moses Nyman, Eric Palmer Brown, Kevin Paredes, Ricardo Pepe, Andreas Pereira, Kellen Acosta, Donovan Pines, Paxton Pomacol, Miles Robinson, Robbie Robinson, Memo Rodriguez, Christian Rodon, James Sands, Hassani Dotson, Tanner Tessman, Mason Toy, Austin Trusty, Matt Turner, Sam Vines, Eric Williamson, Jackson Ewell, Josie Zardes, and finally Walker Zimmerman. Now, my initial thoughts from this roster is I'm very excited, super excited. There's a lot of these players that stand out to me that are they got talent, and B, once again, the talent pool is just big and and B, they're still young. We got young guys on here, which is what I like to see. And I'm going to go into some of the details of specifically the players I like to see on this list. But one of which I have one concern for is the U.S. looks like they might be bringing up Josie Altidore. And I'm not really a big fan of the return of Josie Altidore. I know he can be key and have some key moments, but when it comes to the national team, I think he's had his time. 2014 World Cup, I think he served the time, kind of like Tim Ream. They served, I think it's just time to move on. We got other options, right? We got young talent. We got a whole wave of young talent moving in. But, maybe they'll bring him up to play in his final Gold Cup. But if it's a must, then I can understand. But if we don't need to do this, then we got, like I said, we got other players, right? But we'll see if he makes a finalized roster. Once again, let's hold our horses. This is not the final, right? This is just a preliminary. But then we have a lot of positive notes, and even turning points that could possibly be one of them. The names I read was Rubio Rabin, right? And last time I was looking at some research, I thought he was thinking about switching to the Guatemalan national team, given his roots. And he did play. Yes, he's played with the United States national team before, but there was big rumor around it from Real Salt Lake saying that he was in the process of switching back to or just going to the Guatemalan national team. But the USA has him in the preliminary roster, so if he does make the finalized roster, did the USA perhaps prevent a steal from Guatemala, and did they preserve him? But once again, preliminary roster, we don't know yet. Got to keep waiting. Another player I'm sad about that's not on this list is Yelanis Ulysses Lanes, right? He played a couple friendlies with the United States, and I know he's only 20 and he's still young, but still, I mean, there's other young guys like Gianluca Busio, which I'll talk about more later. But you got young guys that are young as 18, and Caden Clark and Cowell, right? They're young. They're 17 years old, but Giannis, right? And it just breaks my heart to see that he didn't make the preliminary roster. Um, he had a lot of he was really promising, especially after watching him play in the Wales and I think it was the Panama game in last November. They looked really great, but it's kind of sad that he didn't make the roster this time. But maybe it's because he's still too young, as I said earlier. They're still trying to probably let him develop, but I don't know who made the decision. It is what it is. Maybe next Gold Cup, or perhaps we'll see him in World Cup qualifying, because he wasn't even in Nations League. I don't think. Maybe he did make the roster, but he definitely did not play on the field. And then, as I said earlier, we got another positive point about this roster that I see is we got young guys. Matthew Hope, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but he's on this list, and I've heard really great things coming out of him. I think he's made a recent move to the Bundesliga, and I think the Bundesliga so far, some of the teams that they've wanted him for, they speak highly of him, which is good, and I'm glad to see him on this list. Whether it's Gianluca Busio from Sporting KC after he hit that awesome free kick, and then Caden Clark from the New York Red Bulls has been on a tear, and he deserves to be on this preliminary roster. Maybe he'll make the final cut. We don't know, but if he does, that'll be a milestone for U.S. soccer, and as well as the developmental program. What they're doing, they're pumping out all this talent. They have a pipeline, and that's great. Same with Cade Cowell, right, from San Jose. He's kind of fizzled out a bit, but early on in the season, he was on fire. And, of course, everybody knows about Daryl Dike. He has to be in this one. Hopefully, he has to be in the final cut. He also played against Costa Rica in the friendly before they wrapped up the Nations League that whole week of friendlies and tournaments. So hopefully Dike will make the cut. And also, he had a great performance against San Jose for Orlando this past Saturday. Or now, correct that, Tuesday. They had a game on Tuesday night. He scored 2 goals, and that was just great. Of course, rumor has it he still might get traded back to Europe, but at the moment he is back with Orlando City, and he's on a tear. Another key name is Leon Flock from the Philadelphia Union, right? He's got a German American. I think he just moved from Germany, and he was playing his German football at St. Pauli, which is in the German, I think, 3rd division. But it's still European football, which is really great. And but he's back at the Philadelphia Union. He's only 20 years old, so he's still young and developing. But that's another, I think, a dual national that the United States would be great to have, right? As he continues to develop, that would be essential to this whole player pool and talent that the United States is producing. And then another person I'd like to see is Nicolas Gioacchini. I'm glad to see him with as well as Jesus Ferreira from the under-23 side, although they failed to qualify for the Olympics, but it is what it is. But they are in the Gold Cup, so maybe Jesus Ferreira can get some redemption. But Jesus Ferreira, I like to see him too because, in the under-23s, he looks sharp. He scored a lot. He scored a goal against Costa Rica under-23s. He's like an energizer bunny. He's all over the place. And he's, for the most part, he's clinical. He knows how to finish shots. And that's a really great striker to have. But I'm glad to see Nicolas Gioacchini, another dual multinational actually. He's from Italy, USA, or another African nations that all want him. But if we can get him, he said he wants to play with the USA, which is great. If we can get him, we can get his wishes. He wants to be here, so that would be great. And then finally, the last person I have that I really enjoy, or really shocked to see that made this list is Jonathan Gomez from Louisville FC. Yes, that's a team in the minor league, but he's only 20 years old, another young guy. But yeah, he made the preliminary roster. But I think he's a dual national. I think Mexico's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Mexico's also trying to fight to get him, as he's eligible to play for L3 or the Yanks. But he was born in America, so it looks like the Yanks are going to try and hold on to him, as both teams are already going after Efren Alvarez. And so we'll see what happens there. And that pretty much does it when it comes to me analyzing this list of names. Now you guys are going to hear my starting 11, the fun part. So, my formation, my favorite formation is 4-3-3. And what I basically do is I pick and choose players from this list that I think will fit very well or will basically be a good team, right, in my formation. And so I want to start with the keeper, right? So between the keeper, I had, once again, if I have two or many guys on the fighting for one position, I'm going to choose one on the spot. So you guys get to see me make my decision right here. And so first decision we have to make is a keeper, right? Matt Turner or Brad Guzan from Atlanta United. So Matt Turner, in terms of him, he comes from New England Revolution, and he's also been on a tear in terms of keeping. He had a great game against New York City FC recently, and that was great. And then he had played a decent one against the Red Bulls. And he's came up with a lot of saves, and some people already in MLS are already saying he's the next goalkeeper to go to Europe or the next goalkeeper of the year, right? So you have Matt Turner, but then you have Brad Guzan, which has had experience. I think he played last Gold Cup against Mexico. But, if when it comes to decisions, me trying to pick who plays what, I would like to see Matt Turner over Brad Guzan because I think Matt Turner, he has a promising future with the United States men's team. Brad Guzan, I know he's experienced, but Matt Turner, once again, another semi-young guy. He wants to build, right? Continue to build his relationship with the United States. And so this Gold Cup opportunity will be a great experience for him if he can manage to break into that finalized 23 roster. But we only will see. But for me, he's my keeper. I would have Matt Turner as my starting keeper and over Brad Guzan at the moment. But then we go to the defense, and then the four in the back for me. We'll start with one. We have Walker Zimmerman. I don't know what's going on, but Nashville last game against TFC, he was unavailable for them, and so that's unfortunate. But hopefully that'll change. Hopefully that'll change soon. But overall he's a quality defenseman. I would, given by the looks, I think there's better options, but I think given the way that the United States may go, he very well could make it to the finalized roster as he was the MLS Defender of the Year. And so I think they might be looking to use him. But Walker Zimmerman right now, I don't have anybody contesting for his spot. So right now, for me, he's locked down the defensive position. And next up, I have Eric Palmer Brown, which I think he plays his football over in England, which is really great. He's another good defenseman. He played against Wales and Panama back in November. But I would say that's probably another lockdown spot for me. He looked really sharp and just a quality defender. And then next up, I have Aaron Herrera or Cameron Carter-Vickers. And for me, Aaron Herrera, I don't know if he played in the Nations League. I don't think he did, but I think he played last Gold Cup. But he's an average defender, right? He'll give you some good and he'll give you some bad, right? But Cameron Carter-Vickers, is another young, promising defender. Also plays his football in Europe, so that'll be a really good. He's a good solid, but Cameron Carter-Vickers can also come in off the bench, but at the same time, he could also start. So for me, I'm gonna have Aaron Herrera for this position. Although the two are actually neck and neck in my book. And then, finally, in the last position, I have Reggie Cannon, which he played a little bit in Nations League. And for me, he's going to be playing again in the Gold Cup. And hopefully he makes that finalized roster. But once again, another solid left back. He's got another lockdown position for me. And he looked really great. He scored a goal against Costa Rica, which was a pretty good one, too. And so for me, if he makes this cut, which it's up to Berhalter because he played Nations League and Berhalter said he doesn't want to double dip, which means two players playing in the same tournament, right? Or two players playing in two tournaments, right? And so he doesn't want to double dip. So Reggie Cannon is probably questionable for in terms of making the finalized roster. But if he does, give me him. He's another lockdown defenseman. Looked pretty good. And that pretty much does it for the defenseman. Now let's go to the midfield. Okay, I have Julian Green. That's another player I'm excited to see on this list. Julian Green, it will be a solid midfielder. I remember his game against France last year. He scored a goal, but other than France, he's a quality midfielder. He gives you great service for ball, or great ball service, and then also just gives you great looks, right? And then, but yeah, he's a lockdown position for me, lockdown midfielder. The next one I have is disputed, but we have Andres Pereira, which I think he's a recently Colombian turned into American. And then we have Sebastian Lletget, who also played in Nations League. So once again, another player that could be double dipped, but we don't know. But he's good, pretty good, or if not good, then definitely decent, above par for me for sure. He's just great. He'll give you great service and everything. He'll give you great effort and just anything you ask for. But at the same time, Andreas Pereira, I think he played in the Nations League. I mean, not Nations League. Under 23s for the Olympics qualifying, but he does give you great service. I think he's from Orlando City, yeah. But he looked great too against San Jose in their recent game. But for me, I would pick Sebastian Lletget. Maybe you can have Pereira come off the bench for this one. Once again, this is another one that's neck and neck for me. And then in our final midfield position, we have Rubio Rabin or Christian Roldan, right? Another questionable, right? If Rubio Rabin makes it into the final 23, and if he accepts the call up, I would definitely take. Well, I would take him, but at the same time, Christian Roldan, he's been in a lot of Gold Cups before, and even just World Cup qualifying. He's also pretty great for the Seattle Sounders. He scored recently too. But for this one, this is hard. If Rubio Rabin doesn't. If he chooses not to play for the USA, then that's an easy decision, and Christian Roldan will just slide into that spot. But I think that for me, I would say Christian Roldan because I at least know I know what I'm going to get from Christian Roldan. Rubio Rabin can easily come off the bench, and perhaps he'll provide you with some more energy too. So that would be great. He'll be a great super sub in a way to come off the bench for Christian Roldan. But for me, given the experience that Christian Roldan and his basically consistency, I know Rubio Rabin is on the rise, but I would say Christian Roldan for the start, and then Rubio Rabin, keep him in the final 23, but bring him off the bench if need be. But then again, I am playing a 4-3-3, so the USA could either play a 4-4-2 or whatever, and even then, Rubio Rabin would easily be in the mid. And then we go to our strikers, which my first striker I'll have up top is lockdown Matthew Hoppe. And once again, Red Bulls, or not Red Bulls, but the Germans are really high about him. They say he's really great addition to the U.S. pipeline system that's coming out with young players. And for me, just hearing about him, I haven't seen him play really, but I want to say give this guy a shot. So for me, I'm going to have him as a lockdown position, even over Zardes. But, because I know Zardes, he's on a tear for Columbus Crew, right? But the thing is, when he comes to the national team, he just cools down, and he's just not the same Zardes. And so that's the reason I think I'm going to give Matthew Hoppe a chance. Zardes, he can be a great super sub, right? Just like Rubio Rabin could be in the mid. And then the final lockdown position is Daryl Dike. No arguments about it. We all know what he can do. You got to have him up as a starting in the final 23 roster as well. Starting striker, definitely. And, no arguments about that. Daryl Dike must make this roster for me. And he's definitely made it for me on the striker. And we go to our final disputed position on the striker as well as the final position. Nicolas Gioacchini or Jesus Ferreira. And once again, another U23 guy, right? Jesus Ferreira, he provided great looks, right? But then at the same time, Nicolas Gioacchini, he also looked good against Panama. He scored, I think, 1 or 2 goals against them back in November. But he said he wants to play. If he wants to play, I say we should give him a start. So for this one, I would have Jesus Ferreira come off the bench. And as once again, another super sub, another Energizer Bunny kind of guy. But then Nicolas Gioacchini getting the starting nod. So for me, that's my starting 11 is Matt Turner, Walker Zimmerman, Eric Palmer Brown, Aaron Herrera, Reggie Cannon, Julian Green. I have Sebastian Lletget, Christian Rodon, and then I have Matthew Hawk, DK, and then I have Nicholas Giacchini. And in terms of Aaron Herrera or Cameron Carter-Vicks, I think I said Aaron Herrera if Cameron Carter-Vicks doesn't make it. But I probably made a mistake on that. I can't remember. But either way, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. But that is my starting 11. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video of this roster preliminary for the Gold Cup 2021 for the USA. If you like it, like, subscribe, share it with all your friends. Also tell all your friends that if they ain't smiling, then they're wilding.